Hello friends, folks, family and insignificant others. I am Goemon and here are a few thoughts on Trump's 20-point plan for peace in Palestine. US President Trump has met with his fascist friend Benjamin Netanyahu and proposed a 20-point plan to establish peace in Gaza. While Israel continues to bomb and starve Palestinians, Hamas is currently discussing that 20-point plan. Here is my quick take on that proposed plan and why I think Hamas will either reject it or delay its implementation indefinitely. Point 1. Gaza will be a de-radicalized, terror-free zone that does not pose a threat to its neighbors. Ah, a terror-free zone, that is cute. Can we have the same deal for West Bank and East Jerusalem, where radicalized Israeli continuously terrorize Palestinians, murder them in their homes, tear down those homes, and build Israel-exclusive condos on top? Point 2. Gaza will be redeveloped for the benefit of the people of Gaza who have suffered more than enough. Well, agreed on the last part. This is oddly reminiscent of a plan that Trump presented earlier this year, where he openly called for an ethnic cleansing of Gaza so he could build a Middle East Largo at the Mediterranean Sea. I wonder if one of the points downstream mentions who would oversee this magical redevelopment. Point 3. If both sides agree to this proposal, the war will immediately end. Israeli forces will withdraw to the agreed upon line to prepare for hostage release. During this time, battle lines will remain frozen. Meaning Israel will maintain its military occupation of Gaza, while Palestinians will remain confined to a space that is already way too crowded. And what is this agreed upon line? Since nobody agreed so far, I can only assume that this will be agreed upon by some external force? Is it going to be agreed by that enigmatic real estate developer we have not yet met? Point 4. Within 72 hours of Israel publicly accepting this agreement, all hostages, alive and deceased, will be returned. The main reason Israel is not currently carpet bombing Gaza is that it has to pretend to care about the hostages that Hamas took from Israel. Once Hamas gives up those hostages, they will hold no cards in a game where no side plays by any rules. When Hamas gives up its hostages, it gives us its remaining leverage. Based on our observations of how Israel has violated international law so far, we can only assume that hostage release will be the death sentence to everyone still living in Gaza. Point 7. Upon acceptance of this agreement, full aid will be immediately sent into the Gaza Strip. At a minimum, aid quantities will be consistent with what was included in the January 19, 2025 agreement, which we have also violated. Again, very cute, but who will hinder Israel from immediately imploding that aid stream again? A dozen Palestinians starve to death every day, while Israel insists that there is no famine in Gaza. Trusting Israel is absolute nonsense. So far, no country has actively interfered in Israel's siege on the Palestinian people and country. Why would this be different once this agreement is signed? Point 9. Gaza will be governed under the temporary transitional governance of a technocratic, apolitical Palestinians committee, responsible for delivering the day-to-day running of public services and municipalities for the people in Gaza. This committee will be made up of qualified Palestinians and international experts, with oversight and supervision by a new international transitional body, the Board of Peace, which will be headed and chaired by President Donald J. Trump. In essence, Trump wants to run Gaza. Well, if he wants to run it into the ground, like all of his businesses before his presidency provided him with the necessary bribes to keep even the most ludicrous grifter schemes afloat, he will find that in completely destroyed Gaza, there is not much space below. When Trump lost a democratic election, he enticed the violent mob to storm the seat of the government. When he is criticized in public, he sends armed forces into the streets. He sent the National Guard to Portland, Oregon, because one of his favorite fairy tale channels showed an old news clip featuring Portland and public protests. Trump is so bored of wrecking his own country and jailing his political opponents that he wants to spread his dictatorship to the Middle East. And as for the so-called experts that he's going to employ, we can only assume that he would source those from the ever-growing pool of genetic heirs and regime-friendly talk show hosts. I am not sure Palestinians prefer that over death. Essentially, this plan asks Palestinians to give up their right to defend themselves against Israel's occupation, oppression and genocide, because fuckface von Clownstick wants to own a golf course at the Mediterranean Sea. Why would Hamas agree to that, especially if all they get in return is the promise of basic human rights from two certified liars?